Automotive parts have been going right through the ceiling for a reason. The competition is being eliminated. When there was competition, and when the American system was in place, for the most part, it wasn't that difficult to maintain or keep the prices at a competitive edge. That's all gone now. Another interesting thing is in the electrical industry. Some of you people might be electricians. At our end, we're now getting the first big flood of the NAFTA parts that came in because all the American stuff is being used up. Anybody knows what a ground fault plug is right now coming out of the box? The ones you use in the bathroom so you don't electrocute yourself. Most people get them nowadays. 4 out of 5, if not 5 out of 5, out of the box are junk.
They don't work.
4 out of 5 and 5 out of 5. Not working at all.
They don't work.
Yeah, and what's cute is a lot of them are name brand still. It's just now they're being made south of the border or outside the United States, and there are no standards. And here's the sad part. The lowest standards America had are higher than the best they're making outside. The lowest standards. So we're not going to, this is progressively, again, a demonstration of getting the shaft to with NAFTA and you'll get to the head. We talked about it many times. And again, oh, by the way, with regard to NAFTA, remember, with our borders open, we aren't going to have a drug problem, are we? Except for the semi-truckloads of cocaine going to New York. How many people caught this story? We, of course, now we had, and we covered this extensively on Republic Radio with the program. We had this one young man down on the border of Texas who was shot. He's a goat herder. He was shot after school by 4 Marines who could see him just as plain as I'm looking at this man right here. So there was no doubt it was murder. But here they are worried about it. They got these guys out here guarding the border from some campesino with a backpack. And I want to do this as a cartoon or as a tape. Because meanwhile, in the interstate right behind them by about a mile, what they had happen, what was really cute, is they had 3 semi-trucks full of pine loaded with cocaine, and they went all the way to New York, and nobody stopped them at the border at all.
Yeah.
Even 60 Minutes finally did this piece that we all talked about, what, 2 or 3 years ago. And before NAFTA was passed, even we said, here's how it's going to work, here's what's going to happen. What did they say? And those crazy patriots, they even think that something like this could happen with NAFTA. They're just crazy. Then we ask those same people who say you're crazy, did you ever read the Gathered Reader NAFTA? Well, it's 22,000 pages. I couldn't read that. Cha-ching. What does that tell you? Well, what's cute is this whole scenario, the way it worked out, is while they're busy shooting these guys, worried about this campesino with his backpack full of dope, which this young man was not, while they're worried about him, they had a route set up which was going up into the perimeter states through NAFTA, where they were then exchanging the trailers and bringing them up to Battle Creek and up to Michigan and also to Chicago, and then shuttling across and over to New York. Well, Shazam, Sergeant Carter, doesn't take a rocket scientist. They were using carrot loads, they were using plywood, hollowed out the center, pallets of plywood, and everything else coming from across the border. You can imagine the stuff the drugs in by the truckload. They had a warehouse as big as 2 of these buildings they were using. And it was half full with trucks full of stuff. Now, what does that tell you? And again, nobody checked them at the border. Why? The open border policies. So the hell with this nonsense of the war on drugs. Interesting subpoint yet again. I know, gotta go, we got 2 minutes. Gotta get this out. All of a sudden, if you notice, they had this little thing in last week's Time magazine about this billionaire who says he's going to spend millions of dollars to fight the war on drugs.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you want to know why? Because all of a sudden, no, I don't doubt that, because again, the enemy always creates its own opposition. If it can't get people motivated, it buys the resources itself. Well, what they did, what they're going to do is, they got too close to the mafia in New York. Between the kosher mafia and the other mafias involved, what happened is, oh boy, now they're going to grab our backyard. If they can grab those cocaine dealers, they might go after the real cocaine dealers and the real drug dealers. No, they can't have that. So now the war on drugs is going to be bad. But only to a certain degree, and only in certain areas, and only for certain people. For the rest of us, it will be the tool used arbitrarily to attack the American people, like all of the other devices that have been created. We only got a few moments left here. We got to make sure they've got announcements still before the end of before we get out of here too. But for all of you that are listening, if you don't know, we're on Galaxy 7, Transponder 14, frequency 7.71. That's Galaxy 7, Transponder 14, frequency 7.71. And if you get an old satellite system, don't tell me you can't find one. Go out Michigan Ave, out beyond Ypsilanti, and there's hundreds of them you can get for free along the road. The antenna got wires draped over it. Go stop and ask. They'll probably pay you to haul it away. You hook up the dish, you hook up a simple satellite system, you can be listening to the entire public radio network like we're sitting in this room together. That's how clear it is. In fact, we have companies. This is a great plus or demonstration. There are people that when John started working on this, and the other guys were involved with it, that they actually came to public radio and wanted their program refiltered through our system. That's how well we were doing and how clear our signal is. So we've done pretty good work there. Anyway, we're going to close. We can talk after. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is there anything with these cameras on the highway, and are they going out across the nation?
They're all over the nation. I have pictures of the cameras. Questions about the cameras across the highways in Michigan. You are simply about a year behind the times what we saw in California and Florida. We tried to tell everybody about in the last 3 years. What this is part of is the electronic highway. On WJR, they did a piece talking about a combination of the Lucent system and the Gen 3 shutdown and computer control circuits on board cars. When we were here 5 years ago, they uncategorically denied that that technology even existed. But listen to what I just said. The Generation 3 technology. They've already gone through 2 other systems, and this is the latest, which literally they can shut cars down, they can turn cars on and off at discretion, and it all can be done through the satellite systems, and it's done right out of Detroit.
Can we talk about that just like this?
A little bit. They touched about it, but again, they can't get so close until it's back off.
Right.
So again, I've got photographs from California, from Virginia, from Pennsylvania, Florida, Louisiana, every state. We call Atlanta, by the way, Orwellville. I'm going to close with this one because I want you now to get a picture of this. Before the Olympics, we were on I-75 coming north, and there was this pole. And you know that in Atlanta there's a place called Freedom Street. That's its actual name. Where you come off the ramp and there were 3 cameras on a pole, and it says Freedom Street with that little sign, and beyond it was another pole with 2 more cameras. The only thing it needed was a guy in a black uniform with a ski mask, and what a beautiful shot that would be. Freedom Street, where everything is photographed. 1 city out of 7 that originally received the cameras down in Atlanta picked them up. Or took them up. That's right. Freedom and Slavery, George Orwell, 1984. Well, I'll tell you what, as always, together, God bless the Republic! Death to the New World Order! We shall prevail! Thank you. I know we're officially done now, but real quick, before we go, I mentioned this before, I'll mention it again. If you can get a copy of this is all college text as far as I'm concerned for teaching people. I'll be using this at the U of M. It's called The Factual Guide to the Constitution for the United States of America. There's an address in the front. Come up here if you want to write it down. But it's an excellent working book. I give this to people. It's beyond. It's the next step beyond the pocket Constitution. So if you want to, you should order a copy of this. I think it costs around $15. I don't know what the person is doing it now, but before you read.
I cry for my country, for the pain that it's been through. She's been made to suffer for the profit of a few. Storm clouds are forming, winds of change now touch our shores. Our forefathers are crying as the dream's been cruised. America.